up, UO Commuters? I'm Matt.
I'm Natalie.
And welcome to the very first video. We're talking about HHN 31, and so we're new, we're a little late to the party as far as announcements go, so we're going to do three things in one. We're going to talk about Legends Collide, we're going to talk about Halloween, the first two official announcements, and then Horror Night Nightmares has released Spec Map 3.0, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so first, we're going to kick it off with Legends Collide.
I'm telling you, you missed out.
I'll come out next time, but I'll see you later on tonight.
Just text me.
Bye.
Universal Monsters, Legends Collide. Only at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights.
The description on Universal Studios' website states, if you thought one Universal monster was scary, how about three? Better summon your Scream Squad, because you're about to get caught in the middle of an epic battle between the Wolfman, Dracula, and the Mummy. Together for the first time ever. Their mission? To find the amulet that will break their curse. And they'll destroy anyone who gets in their way.
That's the first official announcement that we've had so far, back not too long ago, about a month ago or so. And so I think that, and we'll talk about it on the spec map, it's rumored for the Parade Warehouse. So we don't have much experience. This is going to be only our second one. And last year we experienced Bride of Frankenstein. So what do you think about Bride of Frankenstein as our only experience with Universal Monsters?
I mean, I really liked, as far as like going through it and just sort of experiencing it, it sort of came off as like an older movie. It was like you're going through a movie, like you're on the set of like the original Frankenstein film, if you will, which I really liked. I mean, that was sort of the theme last year, I feel like you had what was it, not Unsolved Mystery,
Case Files.
Case Files, yes. Case Files.
Boris Schuster, that was really good.
I liked that sort of theme throughout some of the houses I saw, so I don't know if they'll carry that over.
Bride opened actually with, I think, the black and white video playing in the on the side of the castle, and then opens up with the bride trying to lift the beam off of Frankenstein. So. Right. Frankenstein's monster, I guess. So it was really cool. So that's our only experience. Back in 2019, I believe, at Orlando, which this is what we're going to be talking about, is Orlando. They had the Universal Monsters where all the monsters were kind of together. And if you're watching on YouTube, we've got a video of that playing right now, and some of the little bit of that walkthrough. And so now we have Wolfman, we have Dracula, we have Mummy all together. I think originally it was speculated that maybe two of them would be together in some of the original speculation maps. When the video dropped, it said all three, and when you read that, it said something about trying to get an amulet. So I've heard talk of maybe like an Icons last year. It changed who was the winner at the end. What do you think about maybe having a different winner each time?
So you think it's sort of going to be a revolving door of sorts?
Yeah, maybe.
The same theme of house.
Yeah, something like that. Like how Icons last year had a different person on the throne at the very
like
end.
Jack. Okay,
yeah, so maybe now with this, maybe the Mummy wins one time.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think that would be really smart, especially if they do the Mummy to win. I mean, we have all that refurbishment for the Mummy ride, and cool. I would love to see some branding with that if they do end up doing that.
With it being in a Parade Warehouse, which again, we're new to this whole thing, so the way that I've understood it is if it's in a sound stage, that means it's what they call getting a lot of love, bigger, more details. If it's in a sprung tent, those are usually a little more claustrophobic. So in a warehouse where this one is rumored to potentially be, maybe a good middle ground there for a pretty good size house. I think the thing that's going to be kind of cool is hopefully last year was our first event, and so they had the vinyl. And so this year, no maybe vinyl, things like that, so more in your face. I think this house could be very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. I mean, if your aesthetic is being terrified, I mean, I'd love that.
So I wonder what it's going to look like visually too. Watching the UO Monsters video, I wonder if they'll take some elements from that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested also, like, Epic Universe. Like, we're going to have a whole monsters section. So I'm really excited for this sort of revival of the older Universal monster movies. I think this is a very good starting point for that.
Yeah, I think they need to go all in on those kinds of things. Unfortunately, rest in peace, Monsters Cafe. Doesn't look like it's going to be there. We actually got to experience it one more time at the Orlando Informer meetup. We'll be doing a video separate for that eventually.
Great salad. Great salad.
But just an awesome place. Hate to see it go for that. So it's kind of crazy that we're going to get these original monsters
as it's leaving
in a house and no Monsters Cafe. So Legends Collide is the first announcement that we got, and so now let's shift over to Halloween.
Oh, are you serious? Why would you go in there? Don't go in there. Oh, really? Ooh, I guess this is the part where the boogeyman gets me. Not real.
Step into the horror classic, Halloween, only at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights.
The Universal website describes, gather your friends and visit Haddonfield, Illinois, where Michael Myers is about to don his mask and embark on his first brutal spree. Silent, merciless, relentless. He's the embodiment of pure evil. You don't want to go alone as you go back to where it all began. This year, step into the original 1978 horror classic, Halloween.
So one thing that we didn't really talk about with Legends Collide in that video was that you had a guy called the Snacker, and he's the main person that's coming out of that movie theater, and he's FaceTiming someone. So now, in this Halloween video, the person that he was FaceTiming is now in this video called The Skeptic. And so everyone's talking about how these have linked together. And so the video, it looks amazing with the Michael Myers. It's assumed that the Snacker made it out alive, I guess we're assuming. She made it out alive. So the tagline for HHN 31 is never go alone. So they've been using that in there as well. And so now we have Michael Myers. There's some people that are kind of disappointed about it, and we'll talk about it in a second on how many times Halloween has been at HHN. But for people like us who have never got to experience that before, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen Halloween or anything like that, but I know the sort of atmosphere that it attracts. You know, it's a cult classic. At the end of the day, it's the gore. I mean, I'm excited. I think it's going to be scary.
We'll have to change.
It's gonna be great.
Let's change that. We'll have to watch. We're going to watch everything leading up to these. We talked about watching some of the classic monsters. That'll be good for Legends Collide. Trying to watch some of those, Mummy and Dracula and Wolfman. So, looking at Halloween's presence at HHN, I guess you could say it first came out HHN 24. In 2014, it was in a sprung tent over by the World Expo, and so that kind of revolved around the first Halloween. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing some of the clips of that original walkthrough right now. So if you're listening on the podcast, it's also good to go over to YouTube and check out some of the videos.
Drop a like while you're over there. I wouldn't mind it.
And so then in 2016, Halloween came back for Hell Comes to Haddonfield, which kind of revolved around Halloween 2, I believe, for HHN 26. And that was over in a parade warehouse like we were talking about over by the Woody Woodpecker Kid Zone. And so then, again, Halloween 4 comes back in HHN 28 in 2018 in the Shrek Theater. So if you were at HHN last year, that's where Case Files was that we were talking about. So it definitely has a history of being at HHN. And again, it's been at the Hollywood version several times as well, I think even last year. And so I can understand the disappointment, but I still think that, and the rumor is that there's a lot of traditional Halloween going to be kind of revolving around this year's event, with it being HHN 31. Right. So I think it fits.
I mean, yeah, you can't have traditional Halloween without a movie called Halloween. So, I mean, as cliche as that sounds, I mean, I think it's necessity.
It is rumored to be in, and we'll talk about that in the spec map here in just a second, but it's rumored to be in Soundstage 23, where Texas Chainsaw was last year. So, like we said a minute ago, supposedly, Soundstage means it's getting some love, I guess you could say. It's a bigger production value. So I think Texas Chainsaw was pretty awesome last year.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, I don't even know that words really do it justice.
I liked walking through the movie, the gas station facade when you walked in. I thought it was really cool. And seeing all the Leatherface and things like that, walking through the house, hearing the theme song.
Smelling the smells, like it was, it smelled like you were in a butcher house, it kind of looked like at the basement.
Yeah, that was rough. It was a wild ride, and so I think Halloween's going to fall kind of into that same thing. Hopefully you're walking through the front door of the Myers house, and if it goes by HHN 24, maybe you're walking through the whole movie again. I don't know what it could be as far as anything much more than that, but I'm pretty excited about it. All right, so we're switching gears over to the Spec Map 3.0, just released the other day by Horror Night Nightmares. And so the main thing to note that us here at the UO Commuter are disappointed in, from 2.0 to 3.0, Stranger Things has left the building.
And it needs to be brought back. I mean...
It's disappointing. Again, it's a speculation map. Anything can change. But I think we're getting kind of late into the game now. So where Stranger Things left, we now have an original house called Witch. And that sounds pretty crazy. I think that could be pretty scary.
You know what's crazier? Teens in the 80s running from a monster.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to see Stranger Things leave the 2.0 map. It originally started out as Fear Street on Netflix. I almost said Stranger Things on Netflix, and which is also a great 3-parter that has Stranger Things vibes to it. And so then it was replaced with Stranger Things. Everybody's excited. If you haven't watched the new season,
holy cow,
you need to see
Go
it.
Watch it.
It seems like it sets up really well for that, but
for a Halloween house. But here we are.
So again, we talked about how HHN 31 is supposedly going to be a Halloween, more traditional Halloween type year. So maybe Stranger Things doesn't completely fit in that. It revolves around spring break.
Season 2? Come on.
Yeah, that's true. It revolves around spring break in the new season, so I get it. But maybe next year when the last season comes out. So we hate to see that go, but I understand. Seeing Witch, my thoughts on that was looking back to Wicked Growth last year. There was some witches in there. Maybe it kind of spins off of that Wicked Growth House of the Year last year. Something that everybody loved. So I could see this being a pretty big house.
Yeah. I mean, especially, like, you really don't think of a tent house being as big of a deal, but with Wicked Growth and some of the others last year, I mean, it's exciting.
Everybody wanted to see the Pumpkin Lord as the official mascot this year, and it's never too late. But Wicked Growth was also on 2.0 map. Wicked Growth 2 also gone now. So it's at the front of the park, which is also something that we're starting to learn, that some of your bigger houses, some of your more of your fan favorite type houses are going to be towards the front. And so Witch is the very first one right out the gate, right at the beginning there, when you're going through that traditional Halloween scare zone. Also new to the 3.0 map is the scare zones. We didn't see that before. Scarecrow was, I think, the original one that was kind of being rumored. Now we have each scare zone filled out. Traditional Halloween could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what they do with that, because whenever I think of traditional Halloween, I mean, I think of comfort, right? So it would be really interesting seeing how they flip that to be more scary.
Yeah.
Obviously, but
I'm seeing like some trick-or-treaters, some pumpkins.
Oh, wow, that's very in-depth there.
Maybe the pumpkin guy, I think he has maybe an official name. Again, we're new to this, so maybe that pumpkin guy being on stilts again, that was in that area last year. So very cool way to kind of kick off HHN, walking straight through the traditional Halloween scare zone, in which you move on now. Evil Dead has maintained its spot over the last few spec maps now. It looks like if it's been on there consecutively this long, then it's probably a good chance that it's happening. I think there's a new movie that's going to be coming out. Evil Dead made an appearance back at HHN 23. So it's something that's not been around, something that the fans would like to see. We've not seen Evil Dead. We kind of skipped through some videos on YouTube.
We're not very informed, I'm learning, as we're going through this.
And so, but scary nonetheless, I think it has a lot of potential to be very scary.
Yeah.
As we check out Evil Dead right now, again, if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing a little bit of a walkthrough right now of that HHN 23 Evil Dead house. Had a lot of good scares in it. Had some really cool scenes. And so I could definitely see this being a fan favorite going forward. So now we move down over to where we already said Halloween is going to be up there in Soundstage 23, where Texas Chainsaw was. I think that's going to be a good spot for it. And again, be a pretty big deal. We've already kind of talked about that. So moving down, the next original, D, and I believe this is where Tooth Fairy was last year, is El Chupacabra. Now,
Okay.
I really like HHN, RIP Tour Guys, great podcast. Check them out if you like HHN. They were talking about different things on their last episode, so I called in. And my next speculation for an announcement, if these videos are going to keep tying together, the dog appears in the Halloween announcement. Could that be connected to El Chupacabra?
That would be... I think that's such a good Easter egg if they did that, because then we could really start digging in and start guessing on some of these other houses too. I think El Chupacabra would be so cool. I mean, you have that sort of folklore vibe to it, and
It could be neat. So far, like I said, that's the only other thing that appeared in that whole video. So if I'm right, I mean, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket, I think. So the next one, moving over where Icons, I believe, was last year, is Dead Man's Wharf, also an original. Now, I have seen on YouTube where this was, I believe, a Scarezone in the past. And so a lot of folks have been wanting to see that Scarezone transition into a house. And so this could be really cool. That Seaside Village, I think, is what it was originally called on the first speculation map. Now, turning into Dead Man's Wharf could be really cool. Just giving those seaside vibes, talking about Jaws, you know, those traditional, that universal feel to it with that kind of haunted, I think of The Fog, that movie. Just a seaside village that's been haunted. That could be a really cool house.
yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how that one pans out. Moving down the spec. Oh, so also the New York Scarezone, looking like Candy Mutants. What on earth could that be?
I don't know. I mean, I personally have never been frightened by a good Reese's Pieces, but that's just me. So I don't know. The only thing I really think of is maybe like I always think of like the creepiness of like movies where it's like a possessed child type deal. That's what it makes me think of. But
maybe a kid got a hold of the wrong candy.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that can tie back to Halloween, trick or treat, you know.
So Candy Mutants is the rumored Scarezone there. So not really sure. Again, we talked about how this is going to revolve around traditional Halloween. So
could just be a bunch of melted Halloween candy.
Maybe the kids. Maybe we talked about you know, how the first entrance is traditional Halloween. Maybe trick-or-treaters in there.
Make it scary.
They got the wrong candy. And now they're Candy Mutants.
Very upset. Very upset.
So now, we move around the corner there to a new house, a sprung tent in the Fast and the Furious queue. And it's looking like the Horrors of Bloomhouse, The Black Phone, and Freaky. Now, Bloomhouse, I believe, had a house a while back with Purge. I think it was a combination of Purge and Happy Death Day. So now they're combining The Black Phone, which I believe is coming out right now, and Freaky. So not really sure a lot about that to really be able to comment on it. But I believe that the original Bloomhouse houses with Purge and Happy Death Day kind of got mixed reviews. So being there in the Fast and the Furious
I mean,
queue.
you're already in a kind of gray area near Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
They're the best ride in the park.
I think Fast and the Furious might be scarier. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so you move over now, in that where Crypt TV was last year, that Scarezone will be Treaks and Foons. They have appeared before, I believe, and then last year in the Lights, Camera, Haction, Eddie's Revenge area in Hollywood, they had an appearance in there. So it looks like maybe they're going to get their own whole Scarezone, which could be pretty cool in that area as well. Really liked Crypt TV last year.
Yeah, I liked those goofy guys we met. So
Let's see here. Going around the map, also talk that Nightmare Fuel is going to be coming back. Interesting show last year.
Unexpected show.
Unexpected, I guess is the word. I don't really know. I thought Nightmare Fuel was going to be more of Jack and the Icons and this Halloween, whatever, and it was not that. It was great. I mean, I thought it was fun, but seeing that come back was kind of surprising. I thought maybe they would go to different. I know a lot of people are trying to get Bill and Ted to come back to host their Halloween special again, but we'll see. So going around the corner, we have in G, we've got Bug House, which would be, I believe, around, in the World Expo area. So that's one of the sprung tents there, and I believe that's somewhere around where maybe Puppet Theater was, and so Bug House could be interesting. Yeah,
honestly, out of these, I think Bug House would be the scariest just for me. I mean, the idea of if they really play on the bugs and like you have to walk over them, or it's like covered in bugs. I mean, that's terrifying personally. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
I just wonder what bugs. I mean, spiders maybe?
Just any bug.
A lot of ants.
A lot of legs. They have a lot of legs.
If you're a homeowner, it could be a whole house of termite damage. That would be terrifying.
That would be pretty scary. Or if you're just any person, any bug, I think is pretty scary.
And it kind of sets up for this next house that we're going to talk about, but maybe bugs have taken over, mutated maybe. And so mankind has maybe been eliminated by a bug population.
Yeah.
So, and being in a sprung tent, like we said earlier, that usually lends itself to smaller, more confined spaces.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get up close to a bunch of bugs.
So maybe, and I wonder how they're going to do this. There's going to have to be some kind of effect to make you feel like they're all over you or something. I mean, that's got to be coming. I don't know how, but that could be pretty crazy.
Yeah, as long as the beetles from the Mummy aren't in there, I think we'll be all right.
So we keep working our way right beside it to H, and it's currently rumored as Seeds of Extinction 2. Now, Seeds of Extinction 1 was at HHN 28 back in 2018. So again, if you're on YouTube, you're seeing that trailer from when Universal announced it back then. And so the premise, I believe, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that plants have kind of taken over, and so now there's going to be a sequel.
Actually.
I personally, having not experienced the first house, obviously, I don't know where a sequel comes in. Not sure where a 2 comes in.
How do you become extinct twice? I don't know. I guess we'll find out though.
And somebody had mentioned it on one of the many podcasts that I've been listening to when Wicked Growth 2 was rumored. Everyone felt like, it's a little too soon. We loved it, but let's hold off. Let's miss it for a little while first, and then let's do a sequel. Doesn't feel like it's been long enough since this one either, And so considering the concept to warrant a sequel, I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see. And so you work your way around, and you're going to be coming up to Legends Collide. Again, we've already talked about that in depth, being in a parade building there. Looks like it's going to be around where Hill House was last year. Hill House was so scary.
For him.
Last year. And maybe we need to do a video of HHN 30 and talk all about that too. It's an idea. We can do that here.
Put that on the board.
Yeah. The bowler hat guy. I feel like
Here we go.
we only had one run on this house, and that's something, since we're new to this as well, we're finding out that different runs, that's when you go through the house, are different, obviously. So when you're going through, maybe one time you go through, you hit all the scares, and maybe one time you go through, you're kind of in between, because more often than not, you're in a conga line, people in front of you, people behind you, so you're going to sometimes see the scare happen, but you get to it and it doesn't happen. And so our run through it, I feel like we got every single one.
I also think they named it a run after that experience, because you were sprinting to get out of there, and that's when they hit you at your weakest.
But yeah, so I just felt like we hit the bowler hat guy every single time, and then at the very end, right as you're leaving, he's on stilts and he's reaching down to you, and it just wrecked. Absolutely wrecked.
You didn't smell the same coming out of that as you did going in, so
we came out of there.
Happened.
We went to Simpsons, I think it was, and we went through Moe's and sat in the back there, soaking wet. Yeah, we were drenched from the rain and just kind of
numb.
Yeah, not knowing what had just happened. I think that was our second house.
Yeah, we did Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice wasn't scary. Very cool house. Hill House, very scary. And then we were just like...
very rainy.
It was wild. So anyway, so that looks like that's where Legends Collide is going to be. And then we keep on moving down, and we come over to Jay, and this has been a hot topic debate on the Twitter sphere right now, is The Weeknd. And a lot of folks are upset about him maybe getting a house. Just wondering where the scary fits in. He's got some pretty scary music videos, creepy enough, I think, to warrant a house, and to give a music somebody with a musical background to kind of help with a soundtrack to this whole thing. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
I'd love to see a Harry Styles house in the future. I think that would be...
That's terrifying.
That would be amazing.
I would be crying the whole way. What's her name? Billie
Eilish?
Yeah, she was going to have a house before COVID had hit, originally for HHN 30, and I believe that Case Files is what ended up taking that place of her house. But she was originally supposed to have a house, and that did not come through. And so now here we are with The Weeknd. He's been on the first speculation map. He's made it all the way to here. He's even been on Twitter talking about that, and kind of going back and forth with some of the fans on there, which kind of leads everyone to believe that it's happening. But I think it's going to be a pretty cool house, especially with the music playing in the background.
Hey, there's music in Stranger Things, so if you're concerned about a soundtrack, this could have happened.
So I think that he's got that synth sound too that kind of has those Stranger Things vibes, which kind of surprised me that Stranger Things came off, because The Weeknd is so heavily rumored to be there. So I definitely think that he has a place. We come around, we go through Central Park, and now we're going through the Scarezone. Mm-hmm. And from what I've heard, the Scarecrow house, not sure if these are connected, assuming they might be, the Scarecrow house from a few years ago was very scary. A lot of people said that that's one of the best houses ever at HHN, so it makes sense to give it some Scarezone love.
It's hard to not love a scarecrow. Like when I see a scarecrow, I love those guys. So I I don't know how they're gonna. I guess
I don't know if they love you back.
Human scarecrows. I mean, they're inanimate. So.
And it fits in with the traditional Halloween feel, so that makes sense. And that brings us over to Hollywood, and it says that we're going to have vampires there.
Edward Cullen is going to be there.
I don't know if it's going to be those vampires, which are also equally as scary.
No.
But a lot of folks are wanting Vamp. I think it was Vamp 55 and then maybe Vamp 85, something like that. Again, we're new to this thing. We're still figuring out and finding out all this. So now folks are saying Vamp 95 maybe make an appearance. So I've seen some of the scare zones from those older vampire scare zones. Really cool. Seeing the vampire from the 80s, I think it was it was over in New York, revolving around New Year's, and that looked really awesome. And so I would like to see a 90s style, or just a traditional vampire. I think that also makes sense. And it fits with Legends Collide. Have they given away the winner of the Legends Collide with a vampire scare zone?
I don't know. I want the Mummy to win, but maybe I'm just impartial.
I don't think
know.
Brendan Fraser's going to make it.
Okay, whoa. Don't out me there. But no, I don't know. I mean, is there going to be a winner of Legends Collide, or is that going to be sort of the finality of it? They all are losers in their own way.
That's true. I didn't think of that. Maybe they don't get to it. Because it kind of makes it sound like you're rooting for them in a way.
Right.
If they're trying to get to this amulet. I don't know. Maybe you're not. Maybe you don't want the winner. I don't know. We'll see. A lot of speculation still to come around HHN.
I mean, I'm looking forward. I think they should have done more with the minions. I think that would have been terrifying. I would have
A Minion
absolutely
Scarezone.
Yeah, Minion House.
We have the summer of Minion, and then we can have the fall of Minion.
The rise and fall of Minion.
And there we go. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
This has gotten off the
This is a
rails.
ridiculous podcast.
So that's our thoughts so far on the 2 houses that have been announced, and the Speculation 3.0. As new announcements come out, we'll do shorter, quicker videos around those announcements individually, unless they drop several in a row. I think last year they had a couple where they announced simultaneously, so make sure that you check back for that.
Also, make sure you check us out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We got some pretty good stuff on there that you can always check out.
And so until
Content.
next time, we will see you later, commuters.